I found a hidden camera. My whole life is a lie. Hey Reddit, I don't even know where to start. I'm shaking as I type this. I need to get this out. To tell someone, anyone, because I feel like I'm drowning in a nightmare. I've been with my partner, let's call him Mark, for 8 years. We've lived together for 6. I thought we were happy. I thought we were building a life, but I was wrong. So wrong. It started a few days ago. I was cleaning our bedroom, something I usually hate doing, but I was trying to be productive. I noticed this weird little light blinking from behind the bookshelf. We have a lot of books, so it's a bit of a dusty, cluttered area. I thought it was some kind of gadget Mark had bought and forgotten about. He's always getting new tech stuff, but when I moved the books, I found it. A tiny camera, hidden behind a fake book cover. My heart dropped into my stomach. I'm not stupid. I knew instantly what it was. A hidden camera. But why? Why would he do this? We have a good relationship. Or so I thought. We talk, we laugh. We go on dates. Why would he need to spy on me? I was terrified to plug it in, but I had to know. I had to know what it was recording. I connected it to my laptop and started watching the files. What I saw, it shattered everything. It wasn't just a few days of recordings. It was years of my life, captured without my knowledge. Me, sleeping. Me, getting dressed. Me, talking to my friends on the phone. Me, crying after a bad day at work. Me, just living my life, completely unaware. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what else was on those recordings. Mark wasn't just watching me. He was watching other people, other women. He had been bringing women into our bedroom, into our home, while I was at work, or out with friends. The recordings showed him with different women, sometimes multiple times a week. They showed him laughing, kissing, being intimate, in our bed, in our space. The space I thought was safe, was sacred. I felt sick. I felt like I was going to throw up. I felt like my world was collapsing around me. How could he do this? How could he betray me like this? We were supposed to be building a life together. We talked about marriage, about kids, about growing old together. All of it was a lie. I spent hours watching those recordings, trying to understand, trying to find some kind of explanation. But there was none. It was just him, over and over, with different women. Our life together was a facade, a carefully constructed lie. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to scream, to break things, to confront him, but I was also terrified. I didn't know what he was capable of. Who was this person I had been living with for 8 years? I decided to wait. I wanted to see if he would say anything, if he would give me some kind of clue, but he acted completely normal. He kissed me goodbye in the morning, asked about my day at dinner, and watched TV with me on the couch. He acted like nothing was wrong. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know why. I waited until he was asleep, and then I went through his laptop. I found folders, hidden folders, filled with photos and videos of the women. He had names for them, nicknames, details about their lives. It was like he was collecting them. I found chat logs, messages where he was arranging meetups, talking about how much he loved them, how he couldn't wait to see them again. He was living a double life, a completely separate life, right under my nose. I felt like I was going crazy. How could I have been so blind? How could I have not seen this? We shared everything, or so I thought. He was so good at pretending. He was so good at lying. I finally confronted him the next day. I showed him the camera, the recordings, the messages. He didn't deny anything. He just looked at me, with this cold, empty look in his eyes. He said he loved me, but he also loved them. He said he didn't want to hurt me, but he couldn't stop himself. He said he was sorry, but he wasn't sorry enough to change. Then he did something unexpected. He started to plead. He said he realized how much he had messed up, how he had destroyed everything. He said he wanted to change, that he would go to therapy, that he would cut off all contact with the other women. He begged me to give him another chance, to believe in him. He cried. He promised. He swore he would dedicate his life to earning my trust back. For a moment, a tiny, fragile moment, I almost believed him. I saw the desperation in his eyes, the genuine pain, but then the image of those recordings flashed through my mind. Years of lies, years of deception. I couldn't do it. I couldn't trust him again. It's too late, Mark. I said, my voice barely a whisper. You broke me. You broke us. Even if you change, even if you become a saint, I can't trust you. I can't live with the constant fear that it will happen again. I told him to leave. I told him I never wanted to see him again. I packed his things and put them outside. I changed the locks. I blocked his number. I cut him out of my life. It's not that easy. The damage is done. The trust is broken. I feel like I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what's real. I don't know if I can ever trust anyone again. I'm struggling to eat, to sleep, to function. I keep replaying the recordings in my head, trying to understand, trying to find some kind of logic in his actions. But there is none. I've told a few friends, and they're being supportive. But I feel so alone. I feel like I'm the only one who has ever gone through this. I feel like I'm living in a nightmare that I can't wake up from. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to move on. I don't know how to rebuild my life. I don't know how to trust again. I'm posting this here because I need to tell someone. I need to hear from people who understand. I need to know that I'm not alone. Has anyone else gone through something like this? How did you cope? How did you move on? How did you learn to trust again? I feel like my life is over. I feel like I'm broken beyond repair. But I know I have to keep going. I have to find a way to heal, even if it's a long and painful journey. I know that I made the right decision, even though it hurts. I know that I deserve better than a life built on lies. And that is where my story ends, a new beginning without him. The perfect vacation, the perfect lie. I found out on the last day. Reddit, I'm adrift. Imagine a picture-perfect family vacation, a carefully curated illusion of happiness. Sun-drenched beaches, laughter echoing through the air, the kind of scene you'd frame and hang on a wall. Now imagine that idyllic image shattering into a million jagged pieces, leaving you bleeding and bewildered. That's my reality. My husband Liam and I have been together for 11 years, and we have 2 kids, 8 and 6. We thought we had it all, a loving family, shared dreams, a strong foundation. But I was living a lie. We'd poured our hearts and savings into this lavish Caribbean getaway, envisioning it as a chance to reconnect, to reignite the spark that had been dimming lately. Life had been hectic, work stressful, and we drifted apart. This was supposed to be our escape, our chance to create lasting memories, to remind ourselves why we fell in love in the first place. The first few days were like a dream. Liam was charming, attentive, and the kids were in their element, building sandcastles and splashing in the turquoise water. But then, the cracks began to show. Subtle at first, then widening into gaping chasms. He started receiving these urgent work calls, disappearing for hours at a time, his voice low and secretive. Excuses about critical client issues and network problems became his constant refrain. One night, he vanished to the resort's business center, not returning until almost dawn. He looked disheveled, his eyes darting away from mine, and while I was drained and couldn't muster the strength to confront him, a nagging feeling persisted. It was a cold dread that settled in my stomach, a sense that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. The following days were a blur of tension and avoidance. He was glued to his phone, his fingers tapping away with a feverish intensity, distant and preoccupied. I tried to talk to him, to bridge the growing chasm between us, but he'd brush me off with vague excuses, his eyes never meeting mine. My unease grew with each passing hour, a suffocating weight on my chest. On our final day, while packing, I stumbled upon his phone, left charging on the dresser. I normally wouldn't snoop, but an invisible force compelled me to pick it up. A notification from an unknown messaging app, Sarah, caught my eye. What I found within shattered my world. Explicit messages, loving words, and photos taken at our resort, in places we'd been together as a family. They were intimate, betraying a deep connection, a secret world he'd built right under my nose. I recognized the secluded cove, where he'd told me he was taking a walk to clear his head, and the restaurant where he'd excused himself to make a quick call. He used our vacation, our family time, to meet with her. I confronted him immediately. He was stunned, then deflated, like a balloon losing its air. He didn't deny anything. He just sat on the bed, his head in his hands, a picture of guilt and shame. He tried to explain, but it was a jumbled mess of excuses and half-truths. He claimed it was a moment of weakness, a lapse in judgment, a mistake he deeply regretted. He swore he loved me, that he never intended to hurt me, that he'd been swept away by something he couldn't control. Then came the promises, desperate pleas to salvage what was left of our shattered life. He offered to completely change his career, to move to a new city, to sever all ties with his current social circle, if it meant I'd stay. He said he'd dedicate himself to rebuilding our family, to becoming a completely different person, someone I could trust again. He said he would share every password, every email, every phone log, and be accessible 24/7 if that was what it took. He promised to dedicate every waking moment to me and the children, and to rebuild the trust he had broken. He even promised to give me full control of the finances, and to put everything into my name. But the images, the messages, the betrayal, they were too vivid, too raw. I couldn't reconcile the man before me with the one who had so coldly deceived me. The vacation, the laughter, the shared moments, it was all tainted, a cruel facade. I told him it was over. I packed our kids' bags, and we left. He's been bombarding me with calls, texts, emails, and even showing up unannounced. His voice pleading, his eyes desperate. I've confided in a few close friends and family, but I feel utterly alone. I don't know how to move forward. The place that was supposed to bring us closer, ripped us apart. How do you rebuild when the foundation of your life has crumbled? How do you trust again when the person you trusted most has shattered your world? How do you explain to your children that the man they adore has betrayed their mother, their family? He used our family vacation, a symbol of our love and unity, as a backdrop for his betrayal. And I found out on the last day, as we were packing to leave. I'm left with nothing but shattered dreams, a broken heart, and the daunting task of piecing together a life I no longer recognize. My siblings started dating my ex, and no one cared how I felt, so yeah. The title is already a mess, but buckle up because it gets worse. This happened a little over a year ago, and I'm still not sure how to fully process it. I've been debating posting about it, but I just need to get this off my chest. Maybe someone out there has been through something similar and can tell me I'm not crazy for how I feel. For context, I, 28F, was in a serious relationship with my ex, Kevin, 30M, for about 3 years. We lived together, we talked about marriage. The whole thing, I really thought he was my person. But as these stories usually go, it didn't end well. Kevin cheated on me, and not just a one-time drunk mistake kind of thing. Not that that would have been okay either, but a full-blown, sneaking around for months kind of affair. I found out through sheer dumb luck. One of my friends saw him at a restaurant with another woman, acting way too cozy, and snapped a picture. When I confronted him, he admitted everything. I was devastated. I packed my things and left that same night, crashing on my best friend's couch until I could get my own place. The breakup destroyed me. I had put so much into that relationship, and he threw it all away like it was nothing. The worst part? He didn't even seem that sorry. He cried, of course. He gave me the usual, "I messed up, I love you" speech, but his actions didn't match his words. He moved on pretty fast. Fast forward a year, I was finally feeling okay again. I wasn't over it entirely, but I wasn't breaking down in the grocery store when I saw his favorite cereal anymore. Then, my younger sister, Emma, 26F, dropped the bombshell. She was dating Kevin. At first I thought she was joking. Like there was no way she would do that to me. But her face was serious. I remember just staring at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. When I asked her if she was messing with me, she had the nerve to look annoyed. "Look, I wanted to tell you sooner," she said, like that would somehow make it better. I asked her how long it had been going on. She hesitated, which told me everything I needed to know. They had been seeing each other for months. While I was still healing, while I was still picking up the pieces of my life after what he did to me. My own sister was sneaking around with him. I don't even remember half of what I said. I was so angry, so hurt. I kept asking why. Out of all the men in the world, why him? Her excuse? I didn't mean for it to happen, but we just clicked. Like my past with him didn't even matter. Like our history was just some footnote in her new fairy tale. She tried to tell me that it wasn't about me, that she and Kevin had something real, that I should be happy for her. I don't think I've ever felt so betrayed in my life. What made it worse? My parents took her side. When I told them how hurt I was, their response was basically, "Well, you and Kevin broke up. You don't own him." I couldn't believe it. My own family was acting like I was the crazy one. Like I was making a big deal out of nothing. My mom even had the audacity to say, "Maybe this is a good thing, honey. Now you can fully move on." Move on? Move on? How am I supposed to move on when every family gathering now includes him? When my own sister is playing house with the man who shattered me? When my family expects me to just smile and pretend like it doesn't bother me? I tried to set boundaries. I told Emma that I didn't want to hear about their relationship. I wouldn't be attending anything where he was present. She rolled her eyes and told me I was being dramatic. My parents kept pushing me to forgive and forget. It got to the point where I had to distance myself from them, because every conversation turned into me being the problem, instead of, the actual problem. Then came the final straw. Emma called me a few months ago to tell me she was engaged to Kevin. I felt physically sick. She knew how much this would hurt me, and she did it anyway. "I really want you to be my maid of honor," she said. Like she hadn't just stabbed me in the back 1,000 times already. I laughed. Like full-on hysterical laughed. Because what else was I supposed to do? I told her no, that I wouldn't be attending, that I wanted nothing to do with their wedding, their relationship, any of it. She cried, said I was being unfair, that I was punishing her for falling in love. I told her love doesn't justify betrayal. Now my whole family is mad at me. They're calling me selfish, bitter, childish. My mom keeps saying, "Family is forever," like that means I should just ignore the knife in my back. My dad won't even talk about it. My brother, the only semi-sane one, says he understands why I'm upset, but thinks I should be the bigger person. I refuse. I have spent too much time trying to heal from what Kevin did to me. I will not sit at a wedding and watch him put a ring on my sister's finger, like my pain never mattered. I will not play happy family for people who didn't care enough to have my back. And honestly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive Emma for this. Some betrayals cut too deep. TLDR. My sister started dating my cheating ex, my family took her side, and now they're mad at me for refusing to go to their wedding. My maid of honor slept with my fiancé the night before our wedding. I don't even know how to start this. I feel like I'm living in some horrible reality TV show, except there are no cameras, no script, and no way to edit out the pain. This happened a few months ago, and I've been sitting with it trying to process everything. I thought maybe I was overreacting, maybe my emotions were making me see things worse than they actually were. But no. What happened was real, and I can't keep pretending like it didn't completely shatter me. So here I am, pouring my heart out to the internet because I have no idea what else to do. For context, I 27F was with my ex-fiancé, Daniel 29M, for 5 years. He was my person. We met in college, and it was one of those instant connection things. We moved in together after 2 years, built a life, got a dog, made plans for the future. When he proposed, I didn't even hesitate. I thought I had won the relationship lottery. And then there was my best friend, Lena 28F. We had been inseparable since high school. She was my ride or die, my partner in crime, my maid of honor. I never doubted for a second that she would be by my side on my wedding day. And, well, she was, just in a way I never expected. The wedding was supposed to be perfect. We had a beautiful venue, a small but loving group of friends and family, and everything was set to go smoothly. The night before, we had the rehearsal dinner. Lots of toasts, lots of love, lots of laughter. Daniel and I weren't doing the no seeing each other before the wedding thing, but he still opted to spend the night in a hotel with his groomsmen to have some guy time. I stayed at an Airbnb with Lena and a few of my bridesmaids. We drank a little, laughed a lot, and around midnight, I decided to turn in for the night. I was nervous but excited. The last thing I remember before falling asleep was Lena saying she was going to grab another drink before heading to bed. What I didn't know was that she never actually went to bed. The next morning, I woke up feeling that kind of giddy excitement you get when something amazing is about to happen. I had no idea that, at that very moment, my entire world had already fallen apart. I went about my morning, getting ready with my bridesmaids, sipping mimosas, listening to music. Lena was quiet, but I figured she was just hungover. At one point, she left the room for a long time, and when she came back, her face was pale. She avoided eye contact with me, but I didn't think too much of it. I was getting married. I had bigger things to focus on. Then, about 2 hours before the ceremony, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Daniel. "We need to talk, now." I remember staring at the message, confused. What could be so urgent that he needed to talk right before we were supposed to get married? I called him, and he picked up immediately. His voice was shaking. "I messed up," he said. At first, I thought maybe he had lost the rings or something stupid. I had no idea what was coming. "I slept with Lena last night." The words didn't even make sense in my brain at first. I think I actually laughed. Like, what? I thought it was a joke. Some kind of sick, last-minute prenuptial hazing ritual. But he kept talking, kept apologizing, kept saying he didn't mean for it to happen. I could hear the panic in his voice, but I felt nothing. Like my brain refused to process what he was saying. Then I hung up. My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. I turned around, and Lena was standing there pale as a ghost. "You knew?" My voice didn't even sound like mine. She started crying. She kept saying she was drunk, that it was a mistake, that she didn't know why it happened, that it just happened. I think that was the moment I snapped. "It didn't just happen, Lena. You weren't possessed. You made a choice. You both made a choice." She kept sobbing, kept reaching for me, but I felt like I was standing a million miles away. I couldn't even process it. I walked out of the room. I didn't even know where I was going, just that I needed to move. I ended up outside, where some of my family members were mingling. Someone asked me if I was okay, and that was when I finally broke. I just said it. I didn't care how messy it was. Daniel and Lena slept together last night. Dead silence. My mom gasped. My dad's face went red. One of my bridesmaids dropped her drink. Then chaos. My mom stormed inside. My dad went after her. And suddenly everyone was yelling. I don't even know who confronted who first, but all I remember is Lena running out of the house crying, my mom calling her a disgusting excuse for a human being, and Daniel showing up looking like absolute shit. He tried to talk to me, but my brother, who is normally the most relaxed, non-violent guy, got right up in his face. "You need to leave. Right now." Daniel kept saying he was sorry, that he still wanted to marry me, that he had made a horrible mistake. But here's the thing. You don't accidentally cheat. You don't just stumble into bed with your fiancé's best friend. So I told him, in front of everyone, that we were done, that there would be no wedding, that he could take his horrible mistake and live with it. And then I walked away. The aftermath was brutal. I left the venue, still in my robe, and went straight to my parents' house. My bridesmaids followed, bringing my bags. We got drunk, cried, and I let myself completely fall apart. Lena tried to text me, to call me. At first, she just kept saying she was sorry. Then, when I didn't respond, she started getting defensive, saying I was throwing away years of friendship over a one-time mistake, that Daniel and I were obviously meant to be, and I was being petty by refusing to even talk to him. I blocked her. Daniel tried to. He showed up at my parents' house once, begging to explain, but my dad slammed the door in his face. After that, he sent letters, emails, long dramatic texts about how he couldn't live without me. I never responded. It's been a few months now, and I'm still healing. I moved to a new apartment, changed my number, and cut off all the toxic people who thought I should have heard him out. Lena and Daniel, they're together now. Yeah, that's the kicker. Apparently all that it was just a mistake. Crap was a lie. A few weeks after the wedding that never was, they made it official. I wish I could say I was shocked, but honestly, it just confirmed what I already knew. They deserved each other. As for me, I'm focusing on myself. It still hurts, but every day it hurts a little less. And one day, when I do get married, my maid of honor sure as hell won't be a backstabbing snake. The neighborhood gossip was the one having the affair. And I exposed her. You know that one person in every neighborhood who somehow knows everything about everyone? The one who seems to thrive on spreading rumors and stirring up drama? Yeah, we had one of those. Her name was Carol. Carol was in her late 40s, had been living in our neighborhood for over a decade, and treated our cul-de-sac like her personal reality TV show. If there was even a hint of scandal, Carol was the first to know, and the first to tell everyone. And I mean everyone. She was the type to accidentally let something slip while pretending to be concerned. Like, "Oh, did you hear that Sarah's husband was out really late last night? Poor thing. I hope he isn't up to anything suspicious. Or I saw Mark talking to a woman that wasn't his wife at the grocery store. I'm sure it's nothing, but you never know these days." She would say things just vague enough to plant doubt in people's minds, and before you knew it, rumors were flying around like wildfire. I always thought Carol was just nosy and bored. Turns out, she was hiding the biggest secret of all, and I was the one who found out. I moved into the neighborhood about 5 years ago with my husband Jake. We kept to ourselves for the most part, but over time I got to know my neighbors, and whether I wanted to or not, I got to know all the gossip, courtesy of Carol. The thing about Carol was that she acted like she was on some moral high ground. She'd go on and on about family values, and how she and her husband Tom had the perfect marriage. She'd throw shade at other women for being too flirty or too friendly with the men in the neighborhood. She was the self-proclaimed guardian of marital purity. So imagine my shock when I found out that Carol was the one having an affair. It all started when my friend Maggie, another neighbor, came over one afternoon, looking pissed. "You will not believe what Carol just told me," she said, practically throwing her purse on my kitchen counter. Carol had apparently pulled Maggie aside that morning and told her in hushed tones that she was worried about Jake, my Jake. According to Carol, she had seen him sneaking around late at night. She said she didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, but she thought Maggie should warn me, because once a woman knows, she can make an informed decision about her marriage. I actually laughed when Maggie told me. Because Jake? Sneaking around? Yeah, right. The man barely left the house after 8 p.m. unless it was to take out the trash. But the more I thought about it, the more pissed off I got. Carol was trying to start rumors about my marriage. I wasn't about to sit back and let her do that, so I decided to keep an eye on her instead. And that's when I noticed something weird. Carol's husband, Tom, worked long hours. He left early in the morning and didn't come home until late. That wasn't new information. Carol complained about it all the time. But what was new was that I started seeing Carol leaving her house at odd hours. Usually in the evening, usually dressed up. At first I thought maybe she was just going out with friends. But then one night, I saw her get picked up by a car. A very nice, very expensive car. And the driver was not her husband. Now, I'm not a naturally suspicious person, but something about this felt off. So I did what any petty vengeance-driven person would do. I started watching her. For the next 2 weeks, I kept track of when she left, how long she was gone, and whenever I could, who picked her up. It didn't take long to notice a pattern. Every few nights, she'd get picked up by the same car, a sleek black BMW. She'd be gone for exactly 2 hours, then come home looking way too happy for someone who just went to grab coffee. At this point, my curiosity had fully taken over. I told Maggie what I had noticed, and we both agreed that Carol was up to something shady. Then one night, I got the opportunity to follow her. I was taking my dog out when I saw the black BMW pull up to her house. Carol got in, laughing at something the driver said, and before I knew it, I was in my car, following them. I half expected to feel ridiculous, like I was in some bad detective movie. But as soon as I saw where they were going, my heart started racing. It wasn't a coffee shop. It wasn't a friend's house. It was a hotel. I parked across the street and just sat there, watching as Carol and this man got out of the car, holding hands, and walked inside like it was completely normal. At this point, I had two options: drive away and pretend I never saw anything. Get proof. I chose option #2. I pulled out my phone and snapped a few pictures. The hotel entrance, Carol and the guy walking in, the car and its license plate. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with them yet, but I knew one thing for sure. Carol was about to get a taste of her own medicine. I waited. The next morning, I casually walked over to her house. Carol was outside watering her plants, looking like the perfect suburban wife. "Morning, Carol," I said, all cheery. "Oh, good morning, dear," she chirped like she hadn't tried to wreck my marriage a week ago. I pulled out my phone and showed her the pictures. Her face dropped. I wish I could describe how satisfying it was to watch all the color drain from her face. She stammered. She tried to lie, said it was just an old friend, that they were catching up. "Oh, so you catch up in a hotel?" I asked, tilting my head. Carol opened her mouth, then closed it. She knew she was caught. And then the best part happened. Her husband, Tom, pulled into the driveway. Carol panicked. I just smiled. "Morning, Tom," I said sweetly. I was just having a little chat with Carol about her late-night coffee runs. And with that, I walked away. Tom and Carol's marriage imploded. Word spread fast, faster than even Carol's usual gossip. Apparently, Tom had no idea about the affair. And when he saw the pictures, he lost it. Carol tried to do damage control, but it was too late. Everyone knew. And the irony? The same woman who had spent years spreading rumors about other people's marriages got exposed for ruining her own. Now Carol is gone. She moved out a few months later, divorced, disgraced, and completely humiliated. And me? Well, I still live here. And I make damn sure no one forgets what happened to our little neighborhood gossip. Did any of these Reddit stories hit you hard? Which one shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more jaw-dropping Reddit drama, smash that like button and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a story.